Hey, so what is your favorite thing to do at the beach? You like playing volleyball? Do you like running? Do you like taking those long walks on the beach? Do you like being there in the bright sun? Do you like being there at sunset? Do you like being there at night? All of the above, right? Everything I just said. So, one of the things that I've always enjoyed doing at the beach is just sitting, just looking at the water. There's something meditative about sitting at the ocean. So I did go to the ocean not too long ago, and I saw a woman sitting by herself looking at the ocean. I took a photograph of her. And today I'm going to paint what I saw, the lady just looking at the ocean. Does that focus right there? So it's a pretty simple painting. It did present some challenges. I'm not 100% happy with it, to be honest with you. But I want to show you the process, including the mistakes, and maybe the next time I do a similar painting, it'll be better. And I decided to keep the mistakes. I decided to even show you a picture I'm not that happy with completely, because I think we're learning together. I think that's the whole idea of the channel, is to learn from one another. Some of you have expressed to me the way you would do something that would be different perhaps than the way I did it. That's why we're here. We're not in the same room, but if we were in the same room, we would be sharing those things with each other, and we all would become better as a result of exchanging ideas and giving positive, constructive feedback. So that's what I think we're going to do. So let's start, and I'll show you how I did this painting. And it's not one of my best, not one of my favorites, but it's the one I did today. Let's go. Okay, let's get started with this painting, and hope you're doing well. So once again, we're going to use the Winsor & Newton pan paints, the dry paints in the pan or in the holder here. That right there, that's just a little bit of actually gouache, and it's white that I placed there that I can reactivate. It's dry, but I can reactivate. I already have white here, but the difference between this white here and this white is that this white is pure watercolor and this is gouache, which means that this one will be able to be opaque if I need it to be. I don't necessarily think the picture today will need it, but we'll see. Sometimes you need a little extra just because you make mistakes, or I make mistakes. All right, so what I want to do first is create a horizon. I want to create a woman sitting in the chair looking at the beach, looking at the ocean from the beach. And she's wearing a straw hat, so let me first put the top of the hat on and just give it a little couple little guidelines for myself. And it's one of those floppy hats that ladies like to wear, and keeps the sun off of her face, and just kind of I like the way it looks, because I actually saw this lady at the beach when Robin and her mom and I went to the beach, and she was sitting there looking at the ocean, and it was a pretty simple idea. You could see her, just a little hint of her face there, and just a little bit of her hair. I guess it was in a ponytail of some sort, and it was just like that. And you could see her neck. Just trying to make sure I get this right. I might have to erase some of this. And her shoulders. And that's pretty much all you see of her, because she's sitting on a chair. And so I just want to try to get the essence of her. And the back of the chair is right there. And let's see if we can get this looking like a good composition. I hope I can. I probably should have sketched it lightly first and then erased it if I didn't like it, but I think it'll work. And her hand is actually visible. There. You can see her leg coming through there, her feet. I think I'm going to start over again. I'm not happy with that at all. I'm just not happy with the way that looks. And as far as the video goes, this is where I have a decision. I can either stop it and then start over again, or let you see how I handle it when I get it wrong. So that's a good thing. I think I'll keep it on there. You know, I think part of the reason some of the viewers to this YouTube channel are watching is to see how I do what I do. I don't want anybody to try to do it as I do it, only because that's not what you want. You want to have your own style. But if you watch how another artist does something, it's often a great way to learn. So what I did wrong was I made her way close to the bottom, and I probably made her way too big. I don't think I want her that big. I want her much smaller. So let me try to think this through here. So I'm going to put a line here to make that the horizon. She's looking out at the ocean, and that's what I want. And so I had her hair, her hat was way bigger than it needed to be. So I'm going to just make it real small. Not real small, just smaller, and we'll take it from there. We'll see how this works out now. If I do it again, and this comes down around here. Yeah, I think this also had I had the wrong shape there. It's why it's good to do it in pencil. It's why it's good to sketch things out. Even when I did portraits back in those days when I did a lot of portraits, I would always sketch them out first, and quite often, I mean, right away you see it doesn't look like the person. The problem with portraits is that you don't always see it right away. It takes a while, and then you realize, oh, I got something wrong, and then sometimes it's too late by the time you see it. But anyway. Okay, and there's her neck. There's her shoulder. There's her other shoulder. And this shoulder actually has the whole arm coming through it. The seat is actually at an angle. And so you're not really directly behind her. You're off to the side a little bit. And I like the look of the hand coming across the arm of the chair. I have a similar chair. I love my beach chair. Here we go. All right, now let's go ahead and put this. There's like a pole there, and it goes behind her hair. And there. Goes to about there. And the arms of the chair, the legs rather. Well, the arms and the legs, I guess. I guess they're all attached to each other. Yeah, this, and then the other part of this is, you know, the sand. Have to make sure we, well, that'll happen when we add the paint to it. But sand is sometimes a challenge. And then now you see her leg coming through here, just enough. Not a whole lot you can see there, just a little bit of a leg, and then over here the foot, which is a little bit obscured by that pole, but there it is. There we go. Now I think I like that whole placement of everything better. And I like how she's looking at the water, and she's got a ponytail hanging down there on the back of that chair. Okay, and it's a bit backlit. Everything else is going to be brighter than her, but right now it's hard to tell that. So, all right. So let's figure the shoreline is very close. She's like right up against the water, and the surf is just coming up to her feet. Robin and I actually did this yesterday. We sat very close to the water, but not at the Atlantic side of the state. We were at the Gulf of Mexico side of the state. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I need to do with the pencil. You see, it's a much better composition. Okay, now let's get some water on here. You know what I'm going to use? Okay, my memory card was full, so I had to start over. Not start over, but I had to erase some things. All right, so I'm going to use the ruler here just to kind of make sure I got a parallel line. So, okay, so it's about, let's see, go from there. That's going to be the edge of it right there. Make sure I got both sides the same. Oh, I did pretty good. Wow. I did pretty good. Now I think I'm going to just go ahead and use the ruler to make it straight. I did pretty good without even using a ruler, but this is going to help me be sure. Yeah, now I got a straight line. I must say, though, I did pretty good. Okay, now, back to where we were. So we're going to add some water to the sky area. And the reason I want to do that, the reason I am doing that is because I want to keep the colors very light and very translucent or almost transparent. And one of the things about watercolor is that white is often achieved from the paper itself, especially if you're using white paper. Makes sense, right? All right. Let's I'm going to get it pretty wet. Pretty wet. All right, I want a kind of a bluish gray sky, so I'm going to mix it here on the side. That looks pretty blue-gray right there. Maybe even add a little purple to it just to give it some personality. And start at the top. In fact, I'll go beyond the fold and just pull it down. Get the sky just looking almost like it wants to rain. It's not the perfect blue sky like you like to put in pictures. It's a rainy looking not stormy looking, just looks like one of those days where the rain is potentially going to happen. Yeah, now, like I say, she's going to be basically, she's backlit or frontlit in this case because we're looking at her back, but I'm going to keep it very light because she's going to be much darker. Everything about her is going to be darker. She's kind of in the shade. All right, let's put a little more blue in there. A little bluer. I don't want to make it too dismal. Just let the water do what it does. There, that looks pretty good. All right, now we got to let that dry. So while we're waiting for it to dry, we can go ahead and get some of these areas over here. Her chair, for example, is going to be a very dark. I'm going to start with orange. Probably put a couple of layers of orange on here to make it darker, as dark as possible. We'll get back to that. We're going to get the edge of her hat, which is going to be really dark. In fact, let me use a different brush for that. It's got a very kind of a defined shape, and it's going to be easier to do it with a small brush. Just keep dabbing it in. Yeah, you can kind of paint with watercolor almost as if it's not watercolor, you know. The thing I have to remember here is I have water in the sky that's still wet, so I don't want to get up there because it'll start to bleed into the sky. I don't want that to happen. Bring it right up to the edge of it. There we go. Just keep it dark like that. All right, let me go ahead and add her skin tone now. It's very, 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 very hard to see it. We're just gonna brush it in there. Take it like that. Can add some of this dark up here too. We'll get back to that later. A little bit of darkness around her hair. And then the bottom of her arm will have some darkness to it. And the back of her leg. It's all in the shade. It's all in the shadow. Okay, let me get some of that darkness out of her face and bring it down here. Get the back of this chair. Using that paint right there. Grab it and pull it down. Now I can bring this over here. Get her shoulder. it's almost impossible to differentiate between her shoulder and the top of the chair, but we'll change that. We'll make that look a little better. I have to wait for that water to dry on the top of her hat. I mean in the sky. Okay. There we go. Okay, a little more. Make this dark. Add some gray to this, I think. That's a little too much. Now the legs of the chair. Some of the darkness of this hat on the shadowed side. I'm going to make that come around. Sort of right here. See, that's still wet right there. Gotta be careful. All right, spread this down. Yeah, the idea is to make it darker than her skin tones. We get some of these lines that define the chair, the posts of the chair. There we go. There you can see some of you see some light coming through the edge there. And then we add a little darkness to the back of her leg, put it more in the shade. And a little bit of purple might actually help with that. Like that. Alright, now let's get the hat. The top has some light to it, and the front is a lot lighter because the sun is hitting it from that angle. Okay, let me see if I can get some of this hair looking like hair. You see that spot right there? It started to bleed into the sky. We don't want that. Gonna have to fix that. Hopefully it's fixable. All right, let me get some more. Very, very light. Very, very washed out. Keep that very washed out. That's her. we'll come back to it. Whoops. I didn't mean to drip water there. Let me just pick the, yeah, don't be afraid to dry things with a paper towel if you need to. So I spread this around a little bit. Her hat. Okay. Now if I can just get the hair looking more like hair. Got the shadow from her hat. There we go. All right, now let's take, so I still got this wet area right here, which I don't want to mess with the water yet because of that area right there. So let's go ahead and start adding some colors to the sand. And we'll just go ahead and brush in some of these whites and these yellows, and we'll come back to that. It's almost got a little bit of a red tone to the sand, I think, almost pinkish. And then of course we'll have the shadows, and she's sitting on a chair and she's blocking the sun, so there would be of course shadows, right? Now I did kind of take a risk by painting her in first, because it's possible that it would have been easier to paint in the background first and then paint her over it, like in an opaque way. But we'll see. We'll see how this works out. Again, I think doing this and sharing it with you guys and letting you see the mistakes and everything that comes with a painting. I don't want you guys to think I know everything just because I'm having a YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, I don't know everything. I'm learning, and hopefully we're all learning together. So, like, I'm even thinking right now that I probably should have used a watercolor pencil for her, because that would have washed away, and the graphite pencil will stay there. But that's okay. All right, now I want to go ahead and create some kind of a shadow underneath her. So I'm gonna use this. I think I'll use a little bit of purple and a little bit of that orange. Let's just go ahead and put some dark areas down here. And of course there's a lot of little shadows in the sand also, where the little divots are. You know, it's not perfectly flat sand, so there's going to be little places where people have walked, or little places where things have left marks in the sand. It's just the way it works, the way it looks. Even on the moon, right? There are things that create shadows. It's not all flat, and there's nobody walking up there. Nobody. I guess there was one time, but just a small little piece of it. All right, yeah, just kind of add some of these little dark areas here. kind of at random. Alright, now I'm waiting for the sky area to dry. I'm going to clean my brush. I think I'm going to add some more water to it, even though I'm waiting for it to dry, only because that one mistake I made is leaving a stain. And I can add a little blue to that and kind of spread it out a little bit more. Oh, that's not blue. That's black. What am I doing? Another mistake. Another mistake. That's all right. It's a gray sky. Didn't I say that? Didn't I say it was going to be like rainy? Yeah, let me put some blue in there, make it back to the way I want it. Hey, it's all work in progress. It's working out little by little. Okay. The only thing I'm not doing is bringing that water right down to the horizon, because that horizon I want that to be dry, so when I do the water. Yeah, I definitely want her to be dark. I definitely want her to be backlit or frontlit in this case. So. Okay. Okay, I think a little bit of darkness maybe from these legs. Let's imagine that the sun is coming from this way. There we go. All right, now a little bit of shadow here. You know, when the surf comes to the edge, it is thick enough that it does create a little bit of a line of shadow. All right, now let's get this ocean. Let's get the ocean going. I'll just start with the basic blue. Get that straight line there. There we go. I'll mix it with the water over here to kind of vary it. I don't want it to be all one color. I want to leave some of the white poking out. Let's go ahead and get around her face. Here we go. I'm trying to decide if I want this to be a rough sea. I don't think so. I think I like the idea of a calm sea. That's what we saw yesterday. The Gulf of Mexico is very calm normally. It's not always, of course, but compared to the Atlantic side here in Florida anyway, it's usually very calm. So just Yeah, just create some white lines from the paper itself. And I think what I'll do is I'll add some darkness. That'll be some just slight waves that have shadows, and keep the white above them. Let me get some of this green. Just to mix it in a little bit. Mix the green with the blue and get that, try to get that turquoise look. There's a lot of that beautiful turquoise water, or the illusion of turquoise. It's not really turquoise, of course. It just has that blue-green look. Okay. Gotta be careful with that black paint for those legs. Yeah, kind of a grayish green. That's what I'm going for, I think, here. Now it is coming out illustration-ish. Nothing wrong with that. Now it's starting to have that look. I mean, you're starting to see what I envisioned. I think probably her hat needs to be darker, and maybe even she needs to be darker. Pretty sure, because I want her to be backlit. I want her to be in the shadows, so I don't want it to be too bright. But you don't really know what you're going to do until you get there. You never know where you're going until you get there. Remember that song? So just kind of dabbing in some of these shadows over here. I'm changing my mind about the purple underneath her chair as a shadow color. Just add some darkness to it. There we go. There we go. All right, let me add some darkness to her hat, her hair, even her skin tone, I think, should be darker. Probably should have a smaller brush for that. Okay, let me go back to this brush. Just clean it off. And I just have to decide if it's too wet to work with. I think I can still work with it. So I'm going to make her skin tone a lot darker. I'm going to get this hat a lot darker too. She's in the shade. Well, she is casting the shadow, so that's why I like that look. Some more darkness here. The underside of her hand, the bottom part of her arm. There is some light coming off of her hair, and some light coming off of her arm, the top of her arm, the back of her leg can be darker. Okay, now remember I said I was going to use that white gouache. I probably still will do that, but right now I'm thinking about making a more defined couple of waves here. I'm going to go ahead and use some of these dark. It's still kind of wet, so plus, just from a composition point of view, mixing horizontal and vertical lines is always interesting to the eye. It just doesn't always have to make sense, but later on when you look at it, you'll say, I don't know what looks good about that, but that's what you like. You like something like that. This area, it's got a lot of water in it, so I probably should wait for it to dry. There, it's starting to happen. This part right here could be fixed. I have to let it dry. I'm just being too impatient. Yesterday when we went to the Gulf, there was a boat out there, and they were chumming the water, it looked like, and the fishermen in the boat were chumming it, and there were so many birds flying around the boat, and I believe I saw some dolphins up in the mix too. Here we go. Get some more little divots here. Get the sand a little bit rougher looking. See that brown that bled into the sky is creating a different, almost like a smog look. That's okay. That'll work. I do want to keep this lighter here where the water is. Make some of this sand a little darker. Just kind of fill it in a little bit. I like the sand being darker in this case. It just seems to work better. There's something about sitting looking at the ocean, isn't there, that appeals to almost all of us. It's just something about it. Yesterday when Robin and I did the video, we were sitting by the water, and we were talking to the camera because we were making a video to tell about coming to Florida during the spring break, and little tips that might make you stay a little bit better. Some folklore. I love the folklore stories about certain things that are probably not true, but just fun little, like the skunk ape, which is like a Bigfoot guy and whatever. It doesn't really exist. It's just fun to talk about. But anyway, we were sitting there, and just with the water just right near us, and the sound of the water, the sound of the birds, and the sound of the children playing. It was really very cool. All right, now I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I don't think I need to do a whole lot. I'm going to take this gouache, see what I'm using the gouache, and I'm just getting it wet and reactivating it, because gouache can be opaque and you can use it to paint over things, whereas the watercolor wash won't do it as effectively as the gouache paint will. So I'm just getting it very thick, and then I have a very pointy brush that I'm using here. And the reason I'm doing this, I want to see if I can get let me see, I don't want to ruin it. Let me try it first on some of these waves. Maybe I can make like little white caps. You know how the waves will do that. Yeah. Alright, that's working. A little bit of spray. Maybe the waves are spraying up some of the white caps. And there's those lines that always form in the shallow water. I think I'll just add some of those a little bit, but mostly what I wanted to do, put a little edge there. I wanted to get this side of her arm and a little bit of her hair to have a little bit of white, and maybe that top of her hat too. Yeah, a little bit there. And then this side of her arm. Her hand. And then the top of her foot over here. That's catching the light. Maybe a little bit of this shoulder too. Not sure. I can always change it. Alright, let's get back to some of those waves. I kind of like the way that was coming out. Just little, like little suds, you know, coming off of it. There we go. And some of those haphazard lines that form in the shallow surf. Almost hard to see them, but you know they're there. And maybe just a few spots here in the sand where the sun is making it through and reflecting and brightening certain pieces of the sand. I'm just using this gouache everywhere, aren't I? Well, it is kind of a nice trick to go ahead and mix white gouache with the rest is all watercolor. These little pieces here. I still think her hat needs to be darker, though. I still feel like it's not in the shadow enough. It's, like I say, she's backlit. Let me get some of that. I put too much white, I think, in her hair. Make that a little bit less obvious. It's really a matter of just adding a couple of different layers, and that's how you darken watercolor a lot. Just keep adding to it. I guess the way you save yourself from doing too much is with that white, but it doesn't always work. It's not always the best plan of action. And you know, I still can see the pencil marks, which I guess I'm just going to have to live with that. Okay, well, I think there's a chance that I may have given the wrong proportions. Maybe her head is too big. Or maybe it's the hat that's too big. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let me add a little bit more blue to that sky. Just water it down. Make the sky more interesting. Right now the sky is just not interesting enough. So yeah, instead of just brushing it in, I'll just kind of put these horizontal lines in the sky, like clouds or something is happening over there. I just think it needs to be more interesting. I think that hat needs to be darker. That hat is bothering me. I can't do anything about it until it dries. So I'm gonna have to let it dry. Yeah, I think that's the part that's bothering me. And right now it's very wet. So I'm gonna turn off the camera and I'll turn it back on after that is dried, okay? Okay, it's dry now. Yeah, that hat right there needs to be darker. So I'm going to take that small brush again, and I will use, not sure which color to use. I think I'll use a purple mixed with the brown and a green and get it really muddy kind of looking. That's, I think the color I want is muddy. Muddy color. Yeah. Just keep getting it. I don't want it too dark. What I want to do is kind of layer it on there in thin layers. Let's see if this works. Okay, so it doesn't have to be quite as dark as the rim of the hat. But I think because she's in the shade here, yeah, I think I like it like that. That's way better. And let me get some of these lines here to indicate that this is her hair. Chin right there, a little bit darker. Oh yeah, that's much better. To me, that looks much better. much better. Now I like the picture better. Now I like the composition better. I like the whole idea. The sky is more interesting. The water is more interesting. And I think I'm going to call it done. Maybe a few more little areas down here in the sand. Here we go. A couple of lines. All right. Well, there we have it. The lady at the beach. It's simple, but it took a little bit of doing, you know. All right. Thanks for watching, and talk to you later. Bye.